It's important to set aside some time either weekly or monthly so a family can discuss any concerns and issues that need to be addressed. We spoke with Dr. Jaclyn Bauer, a licensed psychologist and life coach, and is part of a team of integrative health called Amai. We asked her the importance of family communication.
Well, I think the family, how we become who we are, is through your family. So a good family, in my opinion, it's a family that communicates, a family that listens to each other, a family that could admit when they're wrong and do appropriate praise to each other. I think children learn from their parents and they learn from their family members, and you're modeling the appropriate behaviors for them. I think family meetings are normally called where there's a conflict, and that's unfortunately then it'll have a negative connotation to it, like people will correlate something negative to family meetings, which is also why I think it needs to be done at a regular interval so kids don't think, oh shoot, it's a family meeting, what have I done this time? It can be something as minor as someone's not putting away their dishes after a meal, and something as big as failing out of school. Anything that they want just to air it out. Dinner time, it's not the best place to do it, so it's better to do it at a separate time where everyone is focused, having the rules around it, no guests, everyone shows up. Everyone needs to be there because it's modeling that appropriate behavior. Now, with that being said, there are important things to talk about just one-on-one. It's not a forum for everything, but it's just family issues to talk about. I think it's important to have meetings and have the structure where there might be the complaints, but also allowing for a time of praise. Kids often will resist change, so the earlier you introduce it, the easier it will become to be a normal part of the family environment.
What are some rules plus some do's and don'ts when having family meetings?
So some of the family rules would be don't overtalk over each other, which happens in a lot of families, especially if they're feeling accused of something, that they'll just be talking like this and then communication won't happen. So with that, I recommend introducing something called a talking stick, where the person who's holding the stick is the one who talks, and it has to be everyone obeys it, so it's not just for the kids. Or it could be, I have the stick, this is what I want to say, and you want to say something, you have to ask for the stick afterwards. So it's showing how to communicate. And then it could be fun where you could do things like if someone overtalks, you could have consequences, so to speak. It could be, sometimes they have money in a jar, but I think it's more fun to do things like, well, you talked, you have to do 5 push-ups. We're kind of having it be more of a fun environment and being able to call each other out to take turns. Another do would be to use I statements. So an example of that would be, let's say the children aren't taking out the trash and that's their chores, and the parents are frustrated. So instead of it being, you're not taking out the trash, you're a bad kid, it would be, I'm getting really frustrated because the trash isn't being taken out, and I would appreciate if the trash would be taken out as we agreed upon. In an ideal world, doesn't always happen that way, but to try and have it more what my needs are versus what you're doing wrong. Don'ts would be just to don't overtalk, don't interrupt, don't roll your eyes, don't sneer when the other person's talking. It's how to have appropriate communication, because that's what the children are going to need later in life, and everyone needs to practice that, even the parents too. I feel that everyone should take turns running the meeting. I feel like if the father or the mother always runs the meeting, it sets up this dynamic within the family that may not allow the children to have a voice. So anyone could call a meeting. I think it's best to have it be done the 3rd Sunday of every month or something like that. But I think it's important to take turns to model for the children the responsibility and letting them be responsible for it as well. I don't think it's necessarily a time of solving. I think a family meeting is more of a time of communication. By talking about it, you're modeling for your children appropriate ways to communicate. And they are learning through your actions.